I don't know why it's not doing what it used to do, but it is what it is. So, um, welcome back. We are live. This is another episode of the Fourth and Go podcast. If my mic sounds like I'm yelling into it, let me know. Yesterday, I feel like my audio was all crazy. I've been going back through clips and seeing that I have to edit everything to fix my audio. So, real quick, before we really get too much more into it, I wanna make sure my audio, my mic is not crazy. Let me know if it is. I would love to know, that way I can make sure that I can, um, check it for y'all, do all that for y'all. I'm getting more stuff set up to where I can make sure that I have some coverage whenever it comes to my mic and I can hear myself more. But I'm so glad to be back with you guys. Um you see the title. We're doing a little bit of the 2026 season preview tonight. We're going to go into some deep dive on what we think is going on in the Easton Royal world. And then we're also going to talk about this Nike deal that makes LSU the premier program for Nike outside of obviously Oregon. So make sure before we do any of that, you check what's down below so you have it all on screen, where you can follow, where you can subscribe. I'm not going to get into it, but I will say this: since last night, we've gotten 13 subscribers on YouTube, getting me closer and closer to 100 subscribers. And I hope that we can get there by the end of tonight. So if you haven't already, like the show, share it. Make sure that you also go and you drop it to all your friends, all your different channels that you go to. Share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, and make sure that you guys just share it everywhere. If you have a family member that likes LSU and just wants to listen and wants to support a smaller show, then help a brother out and do so. I'm also going to drop the link to the YouTube um, and to this specific episode in the chat. So if you go into there, you go in the chat, you just send that link over, and they'll be able to help us out. So appreciate y'all for jumping in with us tonight, and we're going to get right into it. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit because originally we were going to talk about Easton Royal, or originally we were going to talk about the season preview. Right now we're going to talk about Easton Royal. So today we got Fong bombed. Okay, it came out that Easton Royal is 60%, or was predicted to flip about 60%. Um, Easton has been a long standing commit to the Texas Longhorns. I mean, for a minute, a long, long time. And so for Steve Fongbaum to come out and say, "Hey, Easton is flipping," or he predicted Easton to flip, um, is crazy. You know, um, or still Steve Wiltfong. My bad. I call him Fongbaum because that's what you see all the time. But today he logged the expert prediction for LSU to flip 5-star wide receiver Easton Royal. Um, and this is my whole perspective on that. So, I made a tweet today on the bottom of that, and it said, "Please let at Easton make his decision and announce it on his own. Stop trying to be the first to the story." Then I saw a screenshot pop up from one guy that I follow on X saying that it has been now taken down off the website, and that he's no longer predicting him to flip, or the flip prediction has been removed. But then you don't see LSU on that list. You just see Texas at 26%, Florida at 26%, and LSU just disappeared. To me, that says that he was asked probably to take it down. And the reason why I think that is because Easton, not too long ago, and I think I actually retweeted it, but Easton tweeted and he said this. So let me pull him up really quick. Okay. A story came out on July 16th. He retweeted it and he said, "Honestly, this past month, I haven't talked to a single coach or anybody." Easton then retweets that after getting quoted by the news network, Fox 8 News, and says, "Reporters included." Okay. So Easton Royal is sitting here saying, I didn't tell nobody. I didn't say that. That's what I'm taking that as. Okay. Um, there's a lot of people. a lot of fans, a lot of folks in this media network and this media sphere that want to go out and get the story first. They want to have it without talking to the 16-year-old that just wants to come and play football and make his own decision for himself. And we have to allow him to do so. Easton Royal is the best receiver in the country, no question. Okay. This is on the heels of Sales recommitting to Indiana today. And that kind of changes things, in my opinion. Right. Both him and Easton have been on LSU's campus these last couple of months. Both him and Easton have both expressed interest in LSU. I think LSU is in a way better spot with Easton Royal than they were with Sales anyway. Um, but I think that Lane and them said, well, why not? Why not get in that sweepstakes? Why not offer him money and see what we can do? You know, I think we need to also understand the production that comes with being a receiver at LSU. And this is what I love about LSU in general is what recently has been said about them. So, um, Tyrann Mathieu, I think after or during the time that he was interviewing Lane Kiffin, and I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. But during that time or after that time, he was at LSU's campus and he was talking to one of the guys in the building, and I actually just found it. So Jack, director of performance innovation at LSU, said this. He said the average NCAA player has a 1.6% shot at the NFL. At LSU, it jumps to 31%. Okay. 31% out of the entire NCAA. LSU goes from you go from a 1.6% shot to make the NFL to make the league to a 31% jump. And then they said at wide receiver question mark, right? If since 2000, if you start 10 games at LSU at the position wide receiver, 86% of those players make it to the NFL. Do you understand how outrageous that number is? 86%. Then you break down the stats like the 1,200 receiving yards, 50 or more receptions, and 7 or more touchdowns. And you go down the list of the top 5 in that list. And this is the list: Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., and Malik Neighbors. There is not one receiver on that list coming from any other university. And if I quickly pull up, and this is bad podcasting for me to be doing all of this while we're on screen. But if you look up Texas receivers, okay? Let me turn my caps off so I'm not yelling. So if you do Texas receivers in the NFL since 2000, okay? Not Texans, Texas. Texas. Hold up. Let's see if we can find. All right. We're pulling up Pro Football Reference really fast, okay? So, oh my goodness gracious, it's going to do this to me. Let's see. University of Texas. Oh my goodness. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to try and see if I can figure this out. It just popped into mind that I should do this, and I want to bring it up. So, this is the notable receivers in the league since 2000, and I'm gonna even give them 1992 to 96. Okay, Mike Adams, okay, was a 7th round draft pick in 1997. B.J. Johnson, 5th round pick. Then you have Devin Duvernay. We all know who Devin Duvernay is. He played for Duval. Colin Johnson played with the Saints back in the day. He was a 161st overall pick. You had Quinn Cosby, Jackson Shipley, who also, oh man, there's quite a few that played for Texas that went and then played at in New Orleans. Little Jordan Humphreys. I don't know why it's putting Saints next to every single player's name now, but it is what it is. Xavier Worthy, Jordan Shipley, Roy Williams. You have, and the list just goes on, right? The best one on that list, based on where they were drafted in the situation, is Xavier Worthy. And I kind of got into this with some Texas fans recently. You know, your receivers aren't doing anything in the league. And it's no disrespect to the University of Texas. No disrespect to the city of Austin. But when you think of wide receivers, you think of LSU. Very closely, when you think of wide receivers, next is Ohio State, and then next, in my opinion, is Alabama. But you don't say Texas is wide receiver U or Texas produces, NFL level talent receivers. A lot of times, what you see is receivers recently leave Texas in the transfer portal, okay, and go to other schools. Recently they got Cam Coleman, and we'll see what Arch Manning does with him. But also understand this: a lot of Texas fans are trying to bring Arch Manning into the conversation when it comes to the recruitment of Easton Royal. Well, can I tell you guys something that you may not know about Arch Manning? Arch is not sitting out another season after this. I promise you that. Arch will be in the NFL draft next year. Let's just say, unless something ungodly happens, like an injury. And as much as I'm not a Texas fan, I'm still going to knock on wood because I never want to wish injuries on anybody. Okay. But I think the point that I'm making is you cannot argue that Easton Royal wants to play with Arch Manning when Arch Manning's only going to be there for a season. Why would he not want to go play with, let's say, Peyton Pop Houston, who right now, because of stupid rivals, updated rankings, is now the ninth best quarterback in the country when he should be probably a top five to number one quarterback in the country? Okay. That's how talented he is. And obviously, brands like Nike see that. And we're going to get into that later. But with all of that being said, and essentially what I'm saying is, how are you going to build the future for yourself? And how are you going to build the future for the program that you love? Not a program that you like, not a program that you're willing to go to because, you could go and be the face. You don't think you'd be the face of the program here. And I'm not asking Easton Royal this because I think he knows that he would be. But I think that this is what I'll say, and this is from a fan and a podcaster perspective, but I got to put the fan side away. The image of LSU right now, especially in this Brian Kelly time frame, is not what it was, let's say, when Edo won a national title, Les Miles won a national title, Nick Saban won a national title. There's been this drop off in the level of, let's say, I think there's still swag because you have players who represent the state of Louisiana very well for this university, and the culture ain't never going to go away. But the coach and the person at the helm and the person who runs the program and leads these young men out of that tunnel on a Saturday night to go and whoop some ass in Death Valley does matter. Brian Kelly was all about being in the media because Brian Kelly at some point had to kiss ass in order to rebuild his image after doing fake accents, after standing on swiveling camera podiums with players that didn't even stay committed to him or commit to him at all. And he just trolled himself out of the building prior to even doing it and continued to make quotes and comments to try and be big. And they all backfired on him. One of the comments he made last year, and I'm getting on a tangent, but then I'll kind of wrap it up and come back. One of the comments he made last year is keep that same energy when we're playing in the national title. Where are you now? Because last time I heard you are on Notre Dame's campus. Last time I heard you might be trying to get a job on Notre Dame's staff because you need a way to rejuvenate your career. So, what did you do for LSU? Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas Jr. were not your makings. They were not players that you recruited. So, when you're sitting back and you're saying all this, you're making all these comments and you're pounding the table and being fake mad and calling people, out of their name or saying that we're spoiled. You squandered opportunities here that you had every single opportunity to capitalize on. You destroyed the image of this university. You destroyed the image not in the eyes of the fans or in the people who love the program, but in the eyes of maybe those recruits who said, I always wanted to play for LSU. But what have they done? I've always wanted to play for LSU, but who have they developed? Because while a Will Campbell and while Emory Jones and while there's a lot of players that are in the NFL that are first round draft picks in talent, but the one thing they're not running to do is come back and talk to Brian Kelly. They weren't, and they played for him. And so I think Lane and them have done a lot of work behind the scenes to fix that image and to make and to help these kids who love this school and love this program rebuild a connection with the program and create a desire to come back and build greatness at LSU again. And I think that's why Pop Houston has stayed committed. I think that's why Pop Houston will never flip. I think that's why you're seeing him stand 10 toes down with Nike. And you know what it reminded me of actually when I saw Pop in the Nike ad, it reminded me of when Tristan Keys signed with Adidas and we all knew he was going to Tennessee. I was like, man, there's no way because the same week that he signed with Tennessee, he then got predicted to flip to, or the same week that he signed with Adidas, he then got predicted to flip with Tennessee. And we've had some big time receivers committed to LSU. DeCorian Moore flipped to Oregon. Tristan Keys then flipped to Tennessee. And that's two cycles where a top 2 to 3 wide receiver flipped away from LSU. And we have the opportunity to change that narrative. We have the opportunity to bring the most talented player in the state of Louisiana back to Baton Rouge and to come and play in Death Valley. And it's time that we bring him home. And I don't know if it's going to be right now. I don't. I'm not the person who's going to predict that it would be. I have in the past, and I still do believe in my heart that Pop loves LSU and that they will get the job done. But it's his decision to make. And I hate to say it, but I think we're going to support Pop or we're going to support Easton Royal. Sorry, I was saying the wrong player, but we are going to support Easton Royal no matter what decision he makes. But like I said previously, he's a 16-year-old kid. My gosh, man, I can't speak tonight. 16-year-old kid who deserves to be cut some slack. I think right now, today, with the Florida picture in his profile and the Ohio State visit pinned or the offer pinned to his account, I think he's just trolling and having a little fun. And he's allowed to. He's a kid. We can be frustrated and get up in arms about all of this, but at the end of the day, a lot of us are like me at 30 years old who had our time, who played the game, didn't get to play it on a level like that, but still got to experience it and chose to not continue doing so. That's a choice that I made. And some of us have to know when to make it. But this kid is one of the most talented players that will come through the state of Louisiana for a long time, and he can set the tone for wide receiver U to continue at LSU. And under Lane Kiffin and them, there's no problem. So he has a decision to make, but the decision is allowed to be made in his time. And so if we're trying to jump on a story early or we're trying to make a prediction early, and all of these haters on X that want to say and make comments, it's an opinion. I'm allowed to have one. I'm allowed to say, "Hey man, maybe we should stop trying to make decisions for kids and jumping on a story early." It's like the bot accounts all over X that try and say, "Oh man, well, I got this. I made this prediction. I'm making this prediction now that this player is going to sign with the Lakers or this player is going to sign with Texas or whoever." Well, I'll tell you this, Jonathan Kuminga still is not a Laker, so stop predicting things that aren't true. During the whole Lane Kiffin beginning of the Lane Kiffin era at LSU, you saw all these bot accounts jump on and say, "Oh man, well, I just know that this player is going to commit." Well, yeah, because 6 experts have already told us he's going to commit. It's just about time frame. You're not breaking a story, so stop acting like it. I can't say a lot because I don't work for rivals, and I respect the people who get to do the job that, one day I would love to be able to do. But I think that it's a dirty social media is the new era of reporting, and it's a dirty, dirty world, and we gotta be mindful of that. But Easton Royal, just know no matter what, brother, I think everybody in the state of Louisiana will always love you. I think the greats that come out of the state, it's hard to see you guys leave. The Devontae Smiths, of the world, and I think that you are a talent that we want to have in the purple and gold. I think your family probably wants you in the purple and gold too. But ultimately, you have to do what's best for you. And as a LSU fan, I want you here. As a non-LSU fan, I think that it would be great for you to build a legacy through this school and follow in the paths of some of the former greats and follow in the paths of, like, let's say, a Lamar Brown who did this. Lamar Brown committed on his time. Lamar Brown made his decision, and Lamar Brown is now in the purple and gold. And he's the highest rated defensive lineman on EA Sports College Football 2027, and he is going to be a part of the most dominant defensive line we've probably ever seen at LSU. And I'm excited to see it. And I'm excited to see what Lane and them will do. And I don't think this one's finished till it's finished. If Easton Royal stays committed all the way up until December, November, we could see a flip then. If it happens, I'm going to be honest with you. If it happens this summer, I don't think that it changes. If Easton Royal flips to LSU, let's just say hypothetically, if he did, if Easton flips to LSU this summer, I don't think he flips to another school. I don't even know if he takes any more visits. The one thing Pop's done, he hasn't taken visits. And I think it's a level of commitment that he has to be ready to make. And when he's ready to make it, he's going to make it. And it's going to be the end of it. And similar to Lamar Brown, you'll see him on campus all the time. You'll see him in Lane's office at the end of signing days during the transfer portal time frame, and he'll be in there and he'll be doing his thing. But we got to be ready for that, and we have to be prepared to sit on our hands a little bit and wait. But with that being said, guys, y'all know we are live. I appreciate y'all for being here. Please make sure you go like, subscribe, share the page, share the show. Like I told y'all earlier, for those who were not in here, we are now up to 90 subscribers, and we're trying to continue to grow, y'all. So just come in here, let us know what's going on, let us know what you want to see. I'm also going to drop the link to our Instagram page. We are now on Instagram. We are now also on Spotify. So if you cannot sit here and listen to me yap on and on and on all night long, then you can always listen to me later. So make sure that if you get the chance to do so, and I'm trying to figure out why my X comments are not showing in here. They never do. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of whack. So if you're commenting, go join the YouTube, drop some questions in the chat. We have some visitors coming. Um, and also, we're going to be doing a show in Boston, with the potential MVP of the Big Three. So my cousin Elijah Stewart will be joining the show. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about bringing podcast stuff here, but I'll tell you this: they also do their own, so we might be able to get it rolling there. Um, but yeah. Anyways, let's move along. So LSU to start the season, and I was going to do a whole season breakdown, but I'm going to do the opening game of the year. So LSU to open the season plays Clemson. Okay. This past year, Clemson did struggle. This past year, Clemson went 7-6, similar to LSU, 4-4 in the ACC. Okay. They average about 27 points per game, but then they also gave up 20.5 points per game. And Cade Klubnik did not have the season that I think a lot of people expected. Clemson also did produce some high level talent that was drafted highly in the draft, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that I believe that will have the production that they need in the NFL to continue that kind of build for Clemson defensive linemen, linebackers, and etc. But I think that there's an expectation in some people's minds that maybe Dabo Swinney's willing to just lay down and die. I don't think that's the case. Sorry, guys. Dabo is one of the most prolific coaches in the college football world, but he's also a coach who refuses to not stand on what he believes in. Dabo has made it very, very clear he is not going to hit the transfer portal super hard. He is going to fill the needs, but he's going to recruit high school harder. He's going to focus on building lasting connections with players who do not want a 1-year contract or are not planning on jumping into the portal the next season after they leave. It's very similar to what Lane Kiffin has come out and said that they are trying to do. But Lane Kiffin, the difference is Lane Kiffin believes in the transfer portal. He just understands that at programs like Ole Miss, he has to use it to build, but at programs at LSU, he can build through high school recruiting because the GOAT told him so. I think this game is one that could, in some way, shape, or form, be very overlooked. I think personally that this game is going to be a great game, and it's not just going to be a easy win like we probably think it could be. But I think that these are big pieces that are going to help us win this football game. So our advantages are going to be establishing the run. Okay. Sam Levitt has to make the downfield throws and he has to make on time and on target throws to these strong wide receivers and these fast, shifty wide receivers that we have. We've experienced Lane Kiffin's offense on the other side of the ball, and so has Blake Baker. But I think putting both of them together is going to provide us with something that we haven't seen maybe since the I don't even want to say Ed Ogeron's time, but the 2019 teams where you had consistency on defense, strong high level talent on defense, but you had an offense and offensive coaches who could get down the up and down the field, run the ball, move the ball, keep us in the game offensively, maybe when our defense breaks. But what we saw a lot last year is our defense bends and does not break. Our defense is the reason why we were in games. The fact that we were in a game with Oklahoma is crazy. The fact that we only lost by 3 to Houston, crazy. But then you go back and you look at the game before that, the game before the Oklahoma game, where we're playing Western Kentucky and we barely win that football game. And we should have done more, but the offense was the offense. There's a reason why Joe Sloan is in Kentucky now. He'll probably have that job for 5 years, be mediocre, and never have to do anything. So I think we have to start off fast. Lane and them are going to have to make sure they do not start off slow. And I think that Clemson is extremely underrated. They are in a conference that it's not going to take a lot for them to win that conference outside of beating Miami. I don't think that Florida State can beat them. I definitely don't think that Virginia Tech is ready just yet to beat them. I think Miami is the best team still in that conference by far. But I don't think Dabo Swinney is going to go out like that. Dabo Swinney seems very similar to Nick Saban. He's going to go out when it's time, but he's way too good of a coach to let himself kind of drown in a program and leave Clemson no better than what he found it as. It's funny talking about Clemson and now seeing that we've played them a couple of times. The first, well, not the first outside of the state of Louisiana LSU game that I ever went to in my life was the Clemson versus LSU Peach Bowl or Chick-fil-A Bowl back in the day when we had Sam Montgomery. They had, I think it was Taj Boyd starting at quarterback. They had like Sammy Watkins at receiver. And I remember like walking through, the crowd, seeing the players, doing all the fun, like behind the scenes stuff. And I remember sitting right. So my stepdad's uncle, I believe, is a big Clemson fan. And we were sitting right behind the field goal post in the Clemson like team area, right? So you know how the stadium's kind of split in half. And I remember losing that game and I was so defeated. I was wearing my LSU scarf that I still have in my car from I think the 2003 national title game. Um LSU jacket, LSU beanie. It was cold in Georgia at the time, so, we were all warmed up and stuff, and me and my little brother went, and, man, that was a heartbreaking loss. So, the get back that we got last year, man, that made up for, like, a good 15 years of hurt, but that we can't let these boys walk into the real Death Valley and whoop us. We can't let them walk in and beat us, and I think going into Ole Miss week 3, we are undefeated. I think that is a big game for us to play, and then going into the next game, which is Louisiana Tech, we're gonna kinda I just hope that this is not what we see. What we saw with Ole Miss and when Lane was at Ole Miss, we saw them kinda step back to their talent, take a week off at times, playing games where they shouldn't even been in the game, like, the other team shouldn't even been in the game. So we really have to keep the pedal to the metal, and going into Ole Miss, we're gonna have to show off and show out. But conserve and save energy. Make sure these young fellas get reps. You brought 60 players in, okay? 60. Most players brought in a class probably ever. Number 1 transfer portal class, number 1 high school class. Get them reps, get them ready. You're gonna need the depth. You're gonna need every player you can get. And those games, like a Louisiana Tech game, for like a Lamar Brown, Deuce Geralds, Richard Anderson, those are the games that get them ready for the big time games because they need live reps in order to perform. And the one thing we have not seen live, and we won't get it until we really see it more in depth in fall. We saw it slightly in spring. How's the O line play going to be? How's the defensive line play going to be? Is Bo Borderline really going to be our left guard? Are we going to be straight up front? Are we gonna be able to bully and push that O-line, something that we weren't able to do last year because we weren't able to run the ball? And with our running backs that we have with Dylan Jones and Harlan Berry, I don't envision any issues with that. It's just about how Lane and them can adjust and scheme to the teams that we're playing, and Clemson is historically known for having really strong defensive lines. If we can push that D-line around, which we did it last year, which is a funny thing because our offense was ass last year. So, if we can do it better than we did last year, we may be making a statement. And going into week 2, we're going to need to continue to run the ball to iron out some of the details because we're going to go into Oxford. It's going to be a really hostile environment, one of the most hostile environments we've seen in a really long time. And we're going to need to put our money where our mouth is. So keep all that in mind as we're getting ready because coming off of Ole Miss, we run right into Texas A&M, right into them. So all I'm gonna say is if we can beat Ole Miss, I'm looking at ticket prices for the Ole Miss game. They're crazy. The Ole Miss game, the lowest ticket price is $528. $528. That's nuts. It's nuts. That's crazy. Okay. So with all the hype and everything that's going around that game, we got to be ready. And I think we will be ready. So let's continue to prepare, get after it, and I think we're going to be in a really good spot um, coming here soon. So um, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get after it and continue to have a great night. But also, I know I'm going off subject, but also let's have a great season because college football starts in a couple weeks, and man, am I freaking ready! I'm stoked, man. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. Lane Kiffin's first year as LSU's head coach, and I'll say this for all the LSU fans that are watching, and if you're not a fan of LSU, you can watch too. Love to have you here. Pump your brakes a little bit. We're gonna be all right. Lane Kiffin, I've said it 100 times. Lane Kiffin did not come here for us to be mediocre, for us to win 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, for us to be anything like Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, I hate to say it, but Ole Miss was a stepping stone, and I think he's said like every school that he's been at, and he's been at some great schools, USC, how that all ended was crazy, right? Tennessee, how he left Tennessee for USC was nuts, right? Um, but it's all stepping stones to get to something better, and LSU is better, right? So we just have to be prepared for what's coming for us. And come next week, Thursday next week, we're gonna have a hard time when people are coming at Lane and social media is going nuts. But I'll say this: if we can walk into Oxford and whoop that candy ass, I'm ready for Texas A&M. Because I don't think that people are looking at it enough to have a Ty Benefield, Deshaun Spears, a Whit Weeks back, and a TJ Dottery, and y'all still be worried about a running quarterback. I promise you. I promise you. Yes, Blake is historically known for struggling with them. Okay. But I do not think that that will continue. I do not think that with the talent that we have, it continues to be a problem. But we will have to see. We will have to see. So, as you guys all know, LSU now holds the largest football class in the Nike Blue Ribbon Elite program. Being somebody who has a swoosh on my body, okay, right here, excuse the ashy elbows, sorry. But as somebody who has a swoosh on my body, who worked for the brand for almost 6 years, the level of partnership that Nike has taken with LSU, making them essentially the premier program for their NIL, it says a lot, man. He took back his prediction online. Who did? Me? JP, what you mean, bro? What you talking about? Who took back their prediction? Anyways, I'm trying to figure out what this man's talking about. So, a matter of fact, while before I finish getting into this, I'm gonna share the show. Let's see if we can get some more interaction into the show. So give me just 1 second because I want y'all to come in, say what's up, holla at me, let me know what's going on. I'm gonna drop it in our Dynasty Discord too because all the haters can come in here and talk crazy. So I'm gonna drop it in there as well because I'm going to be running a game tonight. I'm gonna be running the game tonight where I'm going to try and not get my butt whooped by Oklahoma in Oklahoma. I really hope that does not happen, but I guess we shall see. So hold up, y'all. Sorry. Um, bad podcasting. AP always says that. He says bad podcasting because we're doing stuff separated from what we're actually working on. So this is the class of players that they signed, and some of these guys haven't. They've put a LSU uniform on, and that's all. Pop Houston hasn't even taken a snap in an LSU uniform, and technically he's only not on this roster because he's not officially signed with LSU. But this is who's in the class. Okay, Caden Durham. We already knew DJ Pickett, Harlan Berry, backup quarterback Husan Longstreet could be the future of LSU at the position. Former 5-star Jace Brown, Jordan Seaton, Lamar Brown, Prince William and Uman Yellen, Trades Green, who we already knew, Ty Benefield, and then the man himself, Whit Weeks. So not only do you have potentially 7 and 18, but then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total players who have not taken a snap in an LSU uniform. And if you add Pop to that, that's 7 that have signed deals with Nike and have never played a down in an LSU uniform. Longstreet is the real deal. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm excited for Husan. And I said this last night. Husan Longstreet has the potential to be better than Sam Levitt. He's more mobile. He can become more polished. He's a quarterback who you can really like take time and develop and polish. He's not super old, right? So he's not Sam who's been in what college football for 3 years, 4 years almost now. So there's certain things you can coach out of him. You can teach him to do better, right? You have one of the best quarterback coaches in the country. You have the greatest offensive mind in the country, followed up by the greatest, one of the best, and maybe the greatest offensive coordinator in the country. And with all of that in an off season, plus a season where he's probably gonna sit, plus all next off season, fall and spring, just imagine how good this kid could be. I mean, I remember a world where I never thought there'd be a quarterback to win the Heisman at LSU, ever. I thought Leonard Fournette and Tyrann Mathieu were the only chances that we had to get into the Heisman, and now we got Joe Burrow and I almost said Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels that have both won one, all in the last, like, 6 years, 7 years technically now, I guess. So, what world do we live in that we ever thought that we would go from a Jordan Jefferson and a Jarrett Lee to a Joe Burrow and a Jaden Daniels? It's insane. It's nuts. From a head coach who didn't wanna throw the football to 2 essentially offensive coordinators at LSU, and one who is now the head coach of the Buffalo Bills and the head coach of Josh Allen. So 5 so it says 5 returners, 6 newcomers, okay? So you have it's breaking down stats and things, right? It talks about everybody that's in there, and then it talks about how in December, this is whenever all this launched off, right? So in December of 2025, Nike used Baton Rouge and LSU as their launch pad for the Blue Ribbon Elite NIL program. Green and Pickett were part of the initial launch. This is their fully expanded list, um, and their entire list of athletes is expected or the entire list of athletes is expected to be pushed back and announced later on this year. So there's a lot going on with that. I think personally, okay, they made LSU they essentially evolutionized NIL through LSU. This has apparently been working in the background a lot, right? Um, Nike and LSU recently extended their partnership through 2036 as you start to see like Tennessee leaving and going to Adidas. I think Penn State didn't Penn State just leave Nike and go to Adidas as well? And so they used, like I said, Baton Rouge as the launch pad for this Blue Ribbon Elite program. This is their first comprehensive NIL platform designed to give college athletes opportunities that extend far beyond traditional endorsement deals. So I sound like a freaking ad right now. I was listening to myself talk and I realized that. But you're paying high school players because pop. You're paying college athletes money to wear your brand. And people start to ask, "Oh, why is Sam Levitt not part of this?" Well, Sam Levitt is still signed with Adidas. Y'all must have forgot that he came from Arizona State, who is sponsored by Adidas, and he signed a deal with them there. So, and you may ask the question, well, is he going to wear Nike? He has to. He doesn't have a choice. He has to wear the brand. Okay. Same thing with Flage. Okay. Flage was signed with Puma and she still wore Nike because it's a requirement of the university to wear it. You cannot wear competing brands on the court. You could lose your sponsorships for that. So I believe that LSU this pinpoints and just recognizes LSU as one of the top athletic brands. They could have used any other school. They could have said, "Hey, you know what? Bama's won 7 national titles since Nick Saban got there, and total of what is it, 13 in the Bear Bryant Nick Saban days." But they didn't use Alabama. They signed players from Alabama. They didn't use them though. They've seen the success we have across multiple sports. They've used us as they understand what this brand brings. Okay, the brand brings. Okay, we develop and coach top talent. Nike has always been a partnership that top players from our university have been with. Odell had the most lucrative Nike football deal of any football athlete ever. He started that. He revolutionized what signing brand deals, especially through Nike for football specifically, look like. Nobody really had that. I'm talking about now you see them using the cleats that OBJ had, putting him across it. And I know that's a Pippen thing, right? Like he used Scotty's design, but nobody was putting nothing on the side of them shoes like Scottie Pippen was doing until OBJ did it. So no disrespect to the old heads, but Odell revolutionized it. I mean, the dude was taking fines left and right for his cleats, like Alvin Kamara. But we have some of the biggest national visibility of any brand out there, and I don't think that any school will ever be able to touch that. LSU is LSU. LSU stands alone. We are the brand, and I always say we are one of the top brands in the country. We are the one. I think we are the top brand in the country. We're the most talked about program in the country. We're the most hated on program in the country, and it's really always been that way. You know, people hated Alabama because they won. People didn't like Georgia because they won, but they Georgia did it in the right way and they weren't arrogant about it, right? Um, we've always been them, and we always will be. And so this reinforces that Nike sees the vision of LSU. Nike sees Verge Osbury's vision and Wade Roos's vision of what LSU from an athletic standpoint will always be and should be going into the future. We should be winning national titles in baseball. We're going to do it again soon. We should be winning national titles in women's basketball. We're competing for them most years. Men's basketball, we ain't playing. Will Wade and them are out there scouting and recruiting and doing their thing. And Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss, and his staff just brought in 60 players, spent the money on NIL and TV revenue sharing in order to build this roster back to where it needs to be to bring us back to the promised land. LSU is the brand. LSU will always be one of the faces of college football, but we are not Luke Skywalker. We are 100% the Darth Vader of the sports world right now, and we're embracing it. We love it. We love bringing the energy. We love all the shit that's being talked about us, and we want to continue to be around for it. You know, I ain't got no problems with y'all talking crazy at me on Twitter. Today, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I just joined a freaking group with mostly Ole Miss and LSU fans in it, and I don't give a damn. I don't care. But I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna be around and I'm gonna keep it pushing. I'm gonna keep doing the things that need to get done in order for me to build what needs to be built here. So I want to continue to always tell y'all that I'm gonna show y'all love and we're gonna keep it pushing. We're gonna keep it solid. We're gonna do our thing. But understand, you will not disrespect LSU. You will understand what and who LSU is. And when we get after that ass, okay, it's gonna be nuts. And it's funny because I'm talking crazy, but I just pulled up that Dabo Sweeney made a comment this year. He said, "This year ain't none of y'all gonna pick us. Ain't none of y'all gonna say anything good about us. I've been dead. I'm gone. I think I'm still here. If it was about what people predicted, I would have been gone a long time ago," is what he said. And he's not wrong, but this is my thing, Dabo. Come on into Death Valley week 1 and we're gonna show y'all a little something. Okay. Y'all can wear the color orange and put it with purple. You can have that funky looking tiger come up in our stadium. Mike's gonna beat them down. We're gonna beat y'all down, and we're gonna keep it pushing. And one last thing I'll say too, because I think this is one thing that I missed, and I would definitely want to bring up. How excited are y'all to have Tulane back on the schedule? Because I know I am. I've wanted Tulane back on this schedule for a hot minute. And I'm so glad that we finally got the chance to put them back on here because I think Tulane is a school that, man, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. We need to play Tulane. I think it's great for the city. I think it's great for the state. You know, I think that there's just so much love and hate right now, especially with Blake Baker leaving, with Blake Baker not leaving LSU and staying as a defensive coordinator instead of taking a head coach job to stay underneath, pause, to stay here with Lane Kiffin and to continue to build something that he really sees a vision in. I think Blake Baker and his defensive staff have a top 20 to top 15 defense, and honestly, I'm gonna say top 15. I'm stamping it now. That's what I think he'll have, and that's what I can envision. So I just will say that, and with that being said, I think that it needs to be understood, like, Blake ain't playing neither. Blake is so quiet right now, it's nuts. Blake kinda talked about it a little bit, how he has to keep up with Lane Kiffin. And it's funny because 'cause I'm actually gonna go see, when was the last time Blake Baker tweeted? I don't think I've seen Blake Baker tweet in a minute. Let me see. The last time Blake Baker reposted something was March the 7th, and it was when, let's see, Elias Miscaskin visited LSU, okay? Blake hasn't really been on Twitter much. He then obviously retweeted Lane Kiffin in the cathedral of college football, known as Death Valley, just chilling, doing his thing. So I appreciate all y'all. I love y'all. Um, I know I'm ending the show kind of quick tonight. It's only going to be, I mean, I will talk about it as much as y'all want me to, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think there's a lot coming in this program. And there's a lot coming down the pipeline with LSU. And I'm so blessed to say, the Tigers are back. I think Lane Kiffin and them are about to prove that. I think we're gonna have an outstanding first season under Lane Kiffin. I'm personally predicting, what did LSU report just say to me? Hold up, give me a second. Hey, LSU football report. Appreciate you, my brother. Um, I posted this and I said, obviously, y'all see in the title, it says, "Will Easton Royal flip?" And he says, "Yes, he will." That's what he says. I'm gonna let him have it. I'm gonna say, all right, well, if Easton Royal's gonna flip, then I'm damn well ready for it because I want to see Easton in an LSU uniform. I want to see him be a Tiger. I don't want to see none of that horns up BS. It's horns down all day. Even though I'm running Texas in my dynasty league and I'm about to go play that game right after this. Actually, matter of fact, while I'm on stream, I'm gonna ask him if he's ready because we're gonna get active right after this, and I'm gonna stream it. I think I'm gonna stream it live. So we're gonna see. But please make sure y'all do me a favor. There's two links in my bio. One is for the YouTube. One is actually for my Instagram. If you can, go follow us on Instagram. We appreciate all that you guys are doing. Um, Also, guys, keep in mind too, we are almost at our 100 subscribers mark. We wanted to get there by the end of this month. We are currently at 90. So if y'all can do us a favor, show us love, come in and like and subscribe and show us love. You can say negative things, you can say positive things, you can call us a Ponzi, you can say all types of stuff. But all I'm gonna say is don't say I didn't call you mama. Okay. Anyways, love y'all. Have a great night. Um, I'm gonna go see if I can beat Oklahoma and we're gonna get it rolling. Peace.